In today's video, we're going to go over a really exciting setup, and that is an AI appointment booking system using UChat and also AirChatty or HighLevel. So this is the actual template we will walk through and which will also be available really soon. The first step is to go towards the book appointment, the main flow. Inside, you will see we have some different elements. And the first one is to basically check if we already have contact details of this person in HighLevel or AirChatty. And that is where this function flow comes in. So if we open this flow, you will see that we just have a few notes. Every single flow has a really low number of notes because AI makes it so that we can compress information into a chat completion and from there just reduce the number of notes drastically. So the first thing we check is, does the user have a CRM contact ID? Because that is being connected towards the user in HighLevel or AirChatty. And if not, we're going to formulate a response to ask the user for their email. First, we want to ask the user for the email, and if we take a look inside, it's a really simple one. You can also pause the video. First, we're going to give some context. So user wants to book an appointment. We want to capture the user's email and phone number so that we can confirm the appointment details and provide status updates and reminders. Then we have some guidelines, right? And last but not least, if all of the parameters have been captured, then we are going to request this kind of output. So a JSON payload output. And it will be an email, insert email, a phone, insert phone, and then a status completed. The status completed, again, we mentioned this in a few other videos as well, is really important because we can check if ChatGPT, in this case, already has all the parameters it needs to in order to give all the information, right? Then in the messages, we are going with the user set and then just last text input. You can also go with a book a call as an example. Remember, history is extremely important because this stores the conversation between the bot and the user inside the chat history. For the model, we're going to use the latest turbo model for GPT-4. And for functions, we're going to leave them blank. We have max token set to 100, that is more than enough. And then we have temperature set to 0.4. And rest is pretty much default. The response format will also be text, by the way. Then at the last step, so if we're going to test this request, we're going to map the response from the AI. And as you can see, this will be under messages and then the first content section, right? So we have choices, messages, content, and this is the one that we need to map because this will contain the latest reply from ChatGPT. I'm going to map it, as you can see, towards the ChatGPT_response custom field. And from there, we're going towards the condition check. Does ChatGPT response, this custom field, contain completed? If so, we've captured all the parameters and we can proceed towards the next step. But if not, we're just going to go towards a question block and wait for the user's next input. Once done, we're going to loop back around towards this chat completion until all the parameters have been captured and we have a status response that contains completed. So the great part about ChatGPT is also the ability to provide context and also ensure that the format that we need, like phone numbers, LAN code plus the plus sign, can be added inside the system message. So if we go back real quick, you will also see when asking for the phone number, ensure you mention we need the LAN code as well as the plus sign. When a user gives the phone number and does not include it, ask for it again and make sure to give an example, right? So it will not proceed with a phone number unless it has the proper format. And this is a really powerful way to loop back around, but also ask the question in a different way every single time. Once done, we're going with a simple JavaScript, and this JavaScript basically grabs this text placed value and converts it into a JSON value. So if we're going to test this function, you will see that we have the email, which we can map towards the email system field, and for the phone, we can map it towards the phone system field, right? So this little piece of code, JSON.parse, and then user data for the parameter name, allows us to store these individual data separately. And this is perfect because otherwise, normally, inside of a conversation, you can have a user mention the email or phone number in a sentence. ChatGPT is able to extract the email and the phone number and just display it separately. And from there, we can use a JavaScript like this to be able to map them separately as well. Really fun stuff. And last but not least, if you want to send emails and SMS, you also need to set the opt-in for this. The next step is to confirm that the data has been captured. Really simple message, as you can see here. Send the user a thank you message and mention we have noted it down. Add fitting emojis, reply in first person, only reply with a quick thank you and mention we noted it down. Send the thank you message. Again, chat history is set to yes. Model throughout the entire appointment booking will be the GPT-4 Turbo model. 101 tokens, temperature 0.4, and that is pretty much it for this one. We're going to give the confirmation message, going to create the contact in Go HighLevel, and then from here we're going to output it towards the contact created output node. This one is a fallback, just in case, but up till this point, after hours and hours of testing, I did not encounter this failure, but you never know, and you can just connect the fallback step. Now, if the user comes in here and we do have a CRM contact ID, it directly goes towards the contact created output because we don't need to capture all of those details anymore, right? So if we go back towards the main flow, inside this main flow, the next step will be contact created. Again, contact created field allows you to also connect a fallback step. I did not do so. I just went with the contact created. And then we're going to check if the user already selected the time zone. If not, then we're going with this step. So this is a mini app that we provide, get time zones from a phone number, right? And that's also the reason why we ask for the phone number, because we are able to extract, based on the land code, a certain number of time zones. So for Australia, for example, there are, I believe, 9 or 10 different kinds of time zones, and we are able to save them inside of a JSON field. Then the next question would be to allow ChatGPT to generate a reply, because we're not going to go with static values, but it's all purely dynamic, right? So ask the user to select a time zone from the following options. So this is the time zone JSON field, and on the right hand side you can see a few sample data, how it might look like. Add fitting emojis, reply in first person, give the options in list format, and only output the parameter time zone for each. So it's important to only output this, and we don't need the actual code, right? Then we have the ask the user to choose a time zone from the options available only. Remember, history of course is set to yes, the model the exact same. This one will require a little bit more tokens because we could have a difference in dynamic data. So for example, I go by Europe Budapest time zone, and plus 36 is only one time zone. But for Australia, as you can see, we have quite a few different kinds of time zones available. So I just increased the max token just to prevent any token limit that we might reach. Then we have the temperature 0.4. And from here, everything else is the exact same again. We're going with allowing the user to select a time zone, right? So the time zone is just purely text, no buttons need to be pressed. The user can respond inside of a sentence, purely conversational. And then once done, we are going with another chat completion, of course, fetch time zones. Inside, we are going to say extract the user time zone from his input and match it with one of the following given options. And then we're going to basically give that exact same JSON field again, right? So this is how that system works. As you can see, we are just going to output the $.time zone. From here, we're going to say output only the following JSON payload. Time zone, insert time zone. Status will be set to completed again. So this is just an example data, right? So yes, it's Australia, Brisbane, or we could also say, yes, it's Brisbane, right? Then remember, chat history is set to yes, turbo model again, 100 tokens is more than enough for this one. Then we have the 0.4 as temperature, and the rest is the same. So if we test this request, yes, it's Brisbane. So it should then go with Australia, Brisbane. So let's see if that works. As you can see, time zone, Australia, Brisbane, status completed. This will be saved inside the ChatGPT response custom field again. And from here, we're going with a JavaScript to turn this text value into a JSON value again, in order to properly map it. So we can just say test the function, and then from here, we can just go and select the time zone, and then save it towards the user's time zone. Once done, we're now able to fetch the calendar free slots from HighLevel, right? Or AirChatty. So if we go inside, you will see that we have the action calendar get free slots. We have a calendar ID, which is a bot field. And when installing the template, you will also be able to fill the bot field with your own value. This is just some sample data. We have start today. So this will be today's date as an example data. Here for the end date, you can determine how many days of free slots you want to return. So I set it to 3 days. And so if I say test a request, I only get slots for 3 days. So you can see the 16th, the 17th are only available due to the many testing that I already did. But if I say I want to have 7 days, right? Test the request, then you'll see that I get a lot more back. So I have the 16, 17, I have 20, 21, 22, 23, and that's about it. So the end days determine the number of days you want the free slots returned. So I will set it back towards 3 days because it's also minimizing the amount of options for the user to choose. And it's also to reduce the JSON, basically the JSON payload size that we get back. For the user ID, this is also a bot field, and you can provide sample data. Then the time zone, we just let the user select that, which is then stored inside of this custom field. And we then just provide some dummy data. In this case, it should be Budapest. There we go. So if we say test request, then you will see that you will get +1 back. But if I go with Australia and then say Brisbane, you will see that I will get different kinds of time slots back based on that time zone. So now you will see +10 instead of +1, right? Because the difference between my time zone and that of Australia is 9 hours. So now you will get nice looking formats in the user's time zone back. So which is really convenient when working with international clients or international customers. We will save this entire field inside of a JSON field called calendar free date time. And from here, we're going to let ChatGPT create an answer based on the following data. The user wants to book an appointment. These are the free slots. And as you can see, we have the calendar free date time JSON field, which we just used to save all the free slots from. Again, on the right-hand side, we will have some dummy data, as you can see here. And then we have first let the user pick a date. Once done, only display the time slots for that specific date. So what ChatGPT will do, it will first fetch all the available dates, right? So November 15th, November 14th, and so on and so on. And then once the user made a choice, it will only fetch the dates belonging to that specific date, which is very intuitive because otherwise we need to do several different kinds of conversions and add additional nodes in order to compensate for that. But AI is able to do that for us. Then you will see that we want to display dates in format like November 25th or November 25. You can create your own format for this. Display times in format like 8:30 a.m. Ask for each parameter in a separate sentence. Then when all details are captured, only output the following JSON payload. You will see that we will get a date back, a time, and then a status completed again. Status completed will basically come back several times just to be able to check that with the condition step. Add fitting emojis, reply in first person, give options in list format, use this emoji for the list option display. I needed to do this because otherwise ChatGPT will generate list options with 1, 2, 3, 4 emotions. The only issue with that is they do not properly convert inside of the web chat channel. So you will get a weird looking misplaced square and then the number somewhere on the side of that square. So I wanted to use a specific emoji just to prevent that issue. Then we say we're going to ignore the time zone input from the user as slots are already converted as such, just ask the next question. So otherwise ChatGPT might convert these time slots into the user's time zone, but these are already fetched for the user's time zone, right? So that is something that we needed to put in as a guideline. Then we will say first give dates only, when date is selected only, then give matching time slots. I did that 2 times because otherwise for some reason it did not work, but this system message works properly. User said last text input, time zone is Europe Budapest. Then we of course set the remember history to yes, same model. For this one I increased the max tokens to 500 because we have quite a few data here. And then we set the temperature to 0.4 and the rest is set to default. We will again map the data towards the exact same input, so the JSON path and the custom field where we save it to is always the same. The next part is to check with a condition if all details have been captured. If so, we should have a JSON payload that we receive back from ChatGPT that contains the word completed in it. If not, we are going to ask the question first, so ask the next question, loop back towards this chat completion, see if we need to ask an additional question, and if not, we're going with the condition towards yes. We have quite a few actions inside of this block. So if we take a look, we first are going to convert the text-based JSON into an actual JSON, so we can save a few things. So for example, test function allows us to save the time, right, into our own custom field, and this allows us to store the appointment time properly and feed it into the chat completion in just a few moments. Then the next part will be to create the appointment inside of HighLevel, AirChatty, and that looks like this. So action will be calendar create appointment. We have the contact ID. We have the calendar ID. We have the start time, which we just saved from the JavaScript. The end time you don't really have to fill in because the calendar will determine the end time basically on the appointment duration that you set inside of your calendar settings. Then you can give it a title. I just call it test event, connected towards your HighLevel or AirChatty calendar. We have the assigned user ID, which is the bot field again, appointment address, that is something that you can fill in manually. And then we have the ignore date range, and we just leave that towards default. To notify, I will set to false. If set to false, the automations will not run, because in this case, I want to set up my own automations directly inside the chatbot if I really need to send something out, right? And as you can see, we're going to save the appointment status, the appointment ID, really important for any follow-ups. So if we are wanting to reschedule or cancel, we first need to look up the appointment details by this specific ID. And we're also going to save the entire payload inside of a JSON field, just in case if we need it. Then the next step is to get the actual calendar appointment details, because if we're going to take a look, test request, so we need some additional details which we can grab from this calendar get appointment, like start time, end time, and such. We're just going to save this entire field of data into a JSON payload where we can easily fetch all of them if we so need to. In the next step, we're going to create a chat completion, basically an AI response, and we are going to say the user just booked an appointment for this specific appointment time. Please send a confirmation message using the following guidelines: add fitting emojis, reply in first person, tone of voice should be excitement, display the date in format like November 15th, display the time in format like 1 p.m. Also mention that if they like to reschedule or cancel, they can just type to let us know. Then inside the message, I'm going to give a call to action and not input the user's input. I'm just going to say send confirmation message and mention they can add it to their calendar using the calendar invite below. Do not give a link, just send a message only. This is really important, this last sentence, because in the next action we're going to actually create a calendar invite link. The rest is pretty much the same. So we're getting the remember history, the turbo model, next tokens to 250, and then the temperature to 0.4. And we're going to save it towards the exact same ChatGPT response custom field again. In the last step, we're going to go with a calendar file generator. And this allows us to generate a specific file. And when opened, then this file allows the user to add the appointment directly towards their calendar. So this is where the appointment details from the get appointment action come into play, because we are going to fetch the appointment title, which we can do right from here, right? We have the appointment start time and the end time. We can also give the location, description, URL if we so wish to, and we can then save it towards a custom field. I used add to calendar for this. So in the next step, we're just going to output the response that basically has been generated by ChatGPT, but also add the calendar file. So add to calendar file. We can do so by going with a rich media and then go with files. And once done, you can go towards the upload your file, or you can go with the URL, which we did, and that is add to calendar. So this was the booking of appointment flow, but how does it look like when rescheduling? Right, so rescheduling is being triggered like the booking flow by keyword triggers. So if we go towards the rescheduling, what happens? Inside just a few notes, as you can see, we're first going to pull in the appointment data. So the first action is calendar get appointment, and we save the appointment ID inside of this custom field, so it's easily looked up, as you can see here. Get all the appointment details again. Just grab the entire payload and save it into appointment details. Then the next step is to get the free slots, also important, because if someone wants to reschedule, we also need the up-to-date free slots. So that is basically this action, the same as with the booking of appointment action. Just going with the action calendar get free slots, input all of these fields, and then save it towards the JSON field again. The next step is to handle the rescheduling. A really important one, and here you can see how well the AI booking works. So inside the system message we have the following. The user mentioned it wants to reschedule the following appointment details. Just going to give all the details of this specific appointment. On the right hand side you can see sample data again. Available free date and time slots are as follow. So you can see that we are also going to feed ChatGPT with the new date and free times, right? The rest is pretty much the same. First, ensure to give the user an overview of their existing appointment. Only display the parameters start time and end time. So only this one and this one. The rest is really not that of much importance towards the user, and it's just for ChatGPT to have basically some reference from. Then we are going to say if a user confirms they want to reschedule, display the available dates. So if the user indeed confirms they want to reschedule their current appointment, then fetch all the available dates and times from this specific JSON field. Then once the user confirmed the date, then only show the available times belonging to that date. Provide dates in format like November 17, provide times in format like 2 p.m., add fitting emojis, reply in first person, ask for each parameter in a separate sentence, and then when all the details are captured, only output the following JSON payload. And then we have the date, time, and then status completed again. We'll have the message last text input. Remember, history is set to yes, the GPT-4 turbo model, of course. We have the max token set to 250, and actually 500 might be better because I experienced a few times if I include more date and free time slots, a few times that I run out of tokens. And then from here we have the response format set to text, and then we're going to just map the response from ChatGPT again. In the next step, of course, we're going to check if the ChatGPT response custom field contains completed. If not, we're just going to ask the next question, and as you can see, we're just going to loop around again until we have this condition passing. So ChatGPT response contains completed. Once done, pretty much the exact same happens when creating the actual appointment. We're going to parse all the data so we can also properly map this, right? So we are going to map the time and date again in the appointment time. Then we are going to create or update the appointment. So that is different. We're not going to create a new appointment, but we are going to update the appointment. And that is done through this action. We have the action calendar update appointment. Calendar ID is the bot field. Event ID has been saved from when creating the actual appointment, right? The start time has now been changed, and we just fetch that from the JavaScript above. And then we have the title again. So we could also say rescheduled or something like that. That's totally up to you. We have the appointment status set to confirmed, appointment address set to online, ignore date range, default, and to notify set to false. We're going to save the status and the ID again. And once done, we're going to get the appointment details, because once again, we are going to create a calendar invite link, right? Through that calendar file generator. So we're going to save all of the appointment details inside of this JSON field. The next step will be to create the chat completion. And here we say the user just rescheduled an appointment to this specific time. Please send a confirmation message. The appointment has been rescheduled using the following guidelines. Add fitting emojis, reply in first person, tone of voice should be excitement, display the time in format like November 15th, the time in format like 1 p.m. And then also mention that if they like to reschedule or cancel, they can just type to let us know. Inside the message, I'm going to give the call to action towards GPT to send the confirmation message of the rescheduling and mention they can add the appointment to their calendar with the below invite file. Do not give a link, just send the message only. For some reason, if I did not enter this specific line, then ChatGPT will generate some kind of random link, and we do not want that to happen, right? Remember, history is set to yes again, same turbo model, max token set to 250, it's more than enough for this message, and the rest is the same again. Then we're going to output the ChatGPT response as well as add the calendar file. So we have one last flow to go through, and that is the cancellation. So if we're going to take a look there, which is also triggered basically by keyword, just 8 nodes. First, we're going to get the appointment details, just like the other ones, just by appointment ID. Save it inside the appointment details JSON field. From there, we're going with the create chat completion. The user mentioned it wants to cancel the following appointment details. First, ensure to give the user an overview of their existing appointment. Only display the parameters start time and end time. As you can see here, start time, end time. If the user confirms they want to cancel, only output the following word and nothing else. Cancellation. So I do not want anything more, right? Provide the dates in format like November 17. Provide times in format like 2 p.m. Add fitting emojis, reply in first person. And then we have some sample data. The rest is the exact same again. Inside of this condition block, we're not going to check for the word completed because there is no data to register. But now we're going to search for the word cancellation. If not, we're first going to basically loop around until we get towards this point. And then from this point, we're going to say delete the calendar event. And that's a really simple action. As you can see, calendar delete event. We're going with the appointment details, appointment ID, where we can just grab the appointment ID and then delete the actual event. You can also map the succeeded status into the appointment cancellation custom field if you so wish to check whether or not it has been done. And then we have the generate confirmation message. Really, really simple message. The user wanted to cancel their following appointment. Again, all the dynamic appointment details. We have just canceled the appointment and you need to send a confirmation message of such. When giving the confirmation message, only use the parameter start time to indicate which date and time has been cancelled. When displaying the time, do so in format like November 17th and for the time in format like 2 p.m. Add fitting emojis, reply in first person, and don't ask for rescheduling. send confirmation message of cancellation, and then we are basically going and give that confirmation message. So in theory, we have covered everything, but how does it look on the front end? So let's test that out. I'm going to refresh the page because I just deleted my bot user before starting this recording. And we can now go towards the chat widget and let's trigger this flow. So what happens here is if we go here inside, say start conversation, I will get another question asked first. But let's say, hi, I want to book an appointment. So let's go with this one. Could you please provide me with your email address? So that's the first thing that ChatGPT wants to have captured. And let's say, yes, sure, it's mark@uchat.com.au. There we go. Then the next question should be asked, and that is the phone number. So again, we included a specific section where we are going to say, I need to have the plus sign plus country code. So if I'm going to give something without these details, ChatGPT should recognize that and basically ask for it. So let's take a look if that works. There we go. So let's just provide a valid number, right? There we go. Okay. Now we are going to grab the time zone. So for this specific land code, only one time zone is available. So let's say, yes, Budapest is correct. There we go. And now it will fetch the available times in my time zone. Great, now let's pick a date for your appointment. Let's say, I would love to book a slot at the 19th. So ChatGPT should recognize this and only mention that we only have these two dates available at this moment in time. And as you can see, it does exactly that. So let's say November 16th. Okay, so let's do the 16th then. Now it will only fetch the available slots for that specific event. Or for that specific date, sorry. So let's say 2 p.m. sounds good. And what happens now in the backend is if I go towards my calendar, you will see that for the 2 p.m. it's already been set, right? So all the details have been set already. And if we go back, you will see that we have your appointment is all set for November 16th at 2 p.m. I'm thrilled to have you on the schedule and can't wait to see you then. If you need to reschedule or cancel, just drop me a message and we'll sort it out. Don't forget to add this to your calendar. Remember, if anything comes up, a simple text is all it takes to let me know. And here we have the generated calendar invite. So if we say download, and I'm going with this specific download, you can see that it now will add it towards my calendar. And there we have it, 2 p.m. test event. So what happens when we want to reschedule, for example? So let's say, I need to reschedule our call. Now it should fetch the appointment details again and then basically display confirmation message. So no problem at all. Let's find a date or time that works for you. So let's go with the 17th in this case. So again, we can just go and download this. So that is totally optional. I will leave it for now. Let's also go towards the cancellation flow. I hate to do this, but I need to cancel our call. So now we're going to cancel the call. So it's going to fetch all the available details again. There we go. I understand things come up. Your appointment on November 17th at 2:30 p.m. is now going to be cancelled. You need to reschedule in the future. Feel free to reach out and take care. So here we can just confirm. Okay, please do, and thank you. So let's take a look if the appointment has been removed. And as you can see, the appointment has already been moved. Just like that. Magic, right? And you can see that we did an appointment booking, totally conversational, done by AI. No need for button presses whatsoever. So we have come at the end of this workshop. If you have any questions, do let us know. You can pause the video at the different sections if you want to replicate this. So the premium template will become available soon. So if you do not want to waste time in recreating this entire process, then you can just purchase the premium template. But again, you can just pause the video. We've gone through all the necessary steps for you to be able to replicate the entire process. For now, have a great day, take care, and talk soon.